Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Wednesday the 13th of June 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political headlines today. And to start off with, the Brexit withdrawal bill made its first proper showdown in the Commons last night. And what happened? Well, basically, Theresa May, the Prime Minister, offered a concession of sorts to her MPs to ensure that she got the votes needed for the government to win the day. Now, is it all solved? No, not absolutely not. And that's the reason is because, as reports indicate today in the papers, there's been a lot of confusion over to what the type of concession Theresa May made and what actually the government has now committed to. Now, in terms of what the Remain side of the Conservative Party think Theresa May offered them in return for support for the government, they said that the PN agreed to most of the demands of the sort of rebel leader, who's Dominic Grieve, which is all about giving Parliament greater say over the shape of the final deal through a so-called meaningful vote. Basically, Theresa May offered a meaningful vote, which was really going to be effective for the Conservative MPs who are thinking of rebelling in order to stop them from rebelling. The Brexiteer side of the party, however, do not seem to think that there has been any kind of real hard concession given, and there was no real pledge made, and it was all a bit woolly, and certainly there was no hard commitment for which Theresa May can be held to the fire over in the months to come. Now, that's going to be a problem because that's going to be an unresolved dispute which is going to carry on throughout the Brexit process until Theresa May brings that clarity to what actually she's going to be offering in terms of a meaningful vote. So expect that to be kicked down the road and to come back as a bigger argument a bit later on. Dominic Grieve has also said, and he's already made it clear, that if it doesn't happen, by that it means if a meaningful vote does not happen, then obviously this isn't the end of the matter, very much indicating that if the concession that he thought was given is not given in the end, or is rather fudged, then he will simply ensure that the amendment he put forward will pass next time round. Now, today is the second day of the withdrawal bill in the Commons, so there's still a lot more to get through. The main events today are to do with the single market and the customs union, and amendments basically to keep Britain in the single market and the customs union. Now, the Conservatives are a little bit more off the hook here. It's expected that both the amendments will not pass. The government will be successful today. However, the real story today is the Labour Party, because there's a big internal debate going on, and rather an argument happening within the Labour Party over the single market and the customs union, between those who really want to keep a inside the single market, inside the customs union arrangement, and those who, you know, see there as needing to be a greater split, and the party needing to support greater split away from regulations and obligations of the European Union. Now, the EEA vote is the most important one, the single market one. Labour have said for their MPs not to vote for the access or continued membership of the single market. But there are a number of MPs who have already made it clear that they are willing to disobey their party whip and vote for that amendment. That will be a sign of the extent of loyalty, or rather the extent of support Jeremy Corbyn and the leadership have in their position on Brexit, which is, of course, what they're doing is Keir Starmer, the Brexit Secretary, or Shadow Brexit Secretary, has put forward a Labour separate amendment regarding the single market, not saying they want continued membership of the single market, the EEA, European Economic Area, but actually wanting to seek full access to the internal market. Now, there's a subtle difference there. If you're not a member, then you don't necessarily have to agree to the rules and obligations of the single market, which includes freedom of movement. If you just want continued full access to it, there's room potentially somehow to arrange some kind of negotiate some kind of access point in which you don't have to accept the rules and regulations as well. So it's a little bit of a nuance there, but certainly something which will be blown up today during this debate, something very much to keep an eye on in the Commons. Next, though, in the Daily Telegraph this morning, a little bit of menace caused by some reporters. 3 more Remain backing ministers are considering resigning over Brexit. Now, this follows yesterday morning, immediately out of the traps for the news headlines. Philip Lee, who was a Justice Minister, suddenly resigned, taking everyone by surprise, I think, pretty much, over Brexit, saying that it was, considering the damage it's going to do to his constituents, he could not go forward and support the government as a minister. Now, the trio have, according to the reports, have been in contact with the anti-Brexit campaign Best for Britain. Now, they've been named as you can see here, Foreign Office Minister Alistair Burt, Business Minister Richard Harrington, and Northern Ireland Minister Shailesh Vara. Now, the 3 furiously deny that they've ever wanted to resign, and etc., etc., etc. So it could just be a little bit of a report from the Daily Telegraph, a little bit of journalists being journalists. However, there could be something to it, and it just simply they're wanting to push it under the carpet, and certainly indicates potentially that there is still divisions going on in the Conservative Party in the highest areas of government in terms of the Brexit position. And finally, one more story which is very much more Brexit village, but actually is quite significant in terms of what has happened. Now, the Speaker, John Bercow, has not had the best time in Westminster, particularly over the past few months, with allegations that have come out in terms of bullying. Now, he has not also got that much support, or reports that he's not got that much support, or that warmer feeling to him from the Commons MPs either. Someone who is coming to his defence, though, is Kamal El Hadji, who's the Sergeant at Arms, a very important position in the mechanics of the Commons, indeed a very historic position. He's written for the House magazine, which is a political magazine, saying, "It seems clear to me that there is a witch hunt against him," by that being John Bercow, "whether it is coming from previously disgruntled staff members or ex-colleagues trying to settle old scores of some kind." Now, this is a really significant intervention, mainly because it's just doesn't really happen. The Sergeant at Arms is a role which really does tend to avoid any kind of controversy or any publicity. So to speak out about this for John Bercow is a very significant moment, and no doubt will have a ripple effect in the Commons, and we can expect probably some more news lines of this coming from the political reporters today as well. So very much keep an eye out on that as well. That's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have yourself a fantastic start to your Wednesday.